It happened right in the middle of my daughter's wedding. Music loud, glasses clinking, someone laughing too hard near the bar. The air smelled like sweet champagne and hairspray. She took my arm and guided me a few steps away, like we were about to share a joke. She leaned in, close, calm, not angry, not rushed. From today, you aren't part of this family. No shake in her voice, no heat. Like she'd practiced it in the mirror, like this was a line with a cue. I swear. My first thought wasn't pain, it was logistics. You don't rehearse a sentence unless you plan to use it. I looked at her face, waiting for something. A crack. A flinch. Nothing. People were cheering behind us. Someone popped a cork. She held my gaze. Steady. Like she was checking a box. I smiled. Not a big smile. Just enough to buy time. Away from witnesses. The kind that buys you time. If you've ever learned to swallow things whole, you know that smile. I nodded once. Like I understood. Like we were aligned. Here's the stupid part. A few hours later, back at my place. Shoes still on. I opened my banking app. The screen glowed in the dark kitchen. There it was. $80,000. Lined up to transfer. The down payment I'd promised. The one with a deadline. I hovered over the app, thought of her briefly, then canceled the transfer. The next morning, my door shook, hard. Knuckles slamming like the house owed her money. If you're wondering how fast a sentence can travel from a ballroom to your front porch, it's about 8 hours. Quick pause here. Yeah, I know how this sounds. You're probably deciding who the villain is. Hold that thought. I went back to that moment at the wedding. Her breath near my ear, the clean delivery, the choice to do it there, when I couldn't answer back. My name is Lauren Whitmore. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't cry in the bathroom. I didn't make a scene. I left early, quiet, because when someone tells you you're out, you don't argue the door. You look for the leverage. The knocking came again. Louder. I stood still, listening to the wood rattle. Already knowing Chapter 2 was about to start. Savannah taught me early how to keep things inside the lines. You don't yell. You don't air things out. You nod. You remember who's watching. I grew up with that. I built my whole adult life on it. People here know my name. They know my mother's name too. That kind of knowing comes with rules. You handle family mess behind closed doors. You don't make scenes. You don't drag anyone through the street for sport. That's how I raised my daughter, or at least I thought I did. She used to call for company, not advice. Then the calls stopped, replaced with short texts. Then longer gaps. Then nothing unless I reached first. I remember one afternoon, months before the wedding, we were sitting at my kitchen table. I asked, gently, if she needed help with anything. Seating, vendors, whatever. She didn't look up from her phone. I've got it handled, she replied. Flat, final. I tried to laugh it off. I know you do. I'm just offering, she exhaled through her nose. Mom, you don't need to manage this. Manage. That word hit, like I'd been demoted silently. Later, her fiancé dropped by to pick her up. He shook my hand, firm grip, eyes already moving past me. We're trying to keep things simple, he commented, like he was doing me a favor. Simple. Another word that didn't mean what it used to. Here's the part I don't love admitting. I told myself this was normal. Kids grow up. Parents step back. That's the story everyone repeats. If you're listening to this and thinking I should have pushed harder, yeah, maybe. Or maybe Savannah trained me too well. I poured myself coffee and stared at the door she'd walked out of, already practicing how to stay quiet when Chapter 3 showed up uninvited. They seated me 3 tables back. Not with immediate family. Not even close. I noticed because the place card had my name spelled right, but the table number felt wrong, like a typo no one bothered to fix. I caught my daughter's eye across the room. She looked past me. Not rude, just practiced. Like this was already handled. I leaned toward the planner hovering nearby and asked, "Quiet. If there'd been a mix-up." She checked her clipboard. "This is what we were given. Who gave it didn't need explaining. During the ceremony prep, people kept giving instructions around me, not to me. Flowers moved. Chairs shifted. Every time I stepped closer, my son-in-law appeared. Always polite. Always gentle. We're trying to keep the flow clean." He offered once, positioning himself between me and the aisle. Less congestion. Congestion? I nodded and stepped back. I'm good at stepping back. At the reception. I tried again. Just a small thing. I asked my daughter if she wanted me near the head table for the speeches. She adjusted her dress. "Didn't look up. We've got it covered." That phrase again. Covered by who? I didn't ask. Later, when the band paused, I heard my name from behind me. A cousin whispered, "Are you okay back here?" "I'm fine." I answered, a little too fast. Here's the part that stings in hindsight. I kept making excuses for them, for her. Wedding stress, nerves, new family dynamics. I stacked excuses as if arranging someone else's mess. Quick pause. Yeah, I know. This is where people shout at the screen. I can hear it. I stayed anyway. When my daughter finally walked past, I reached for her hand. Just a touch. She pulled it back. Subtle, but clear. Her eyes flicked to her husband. Then away, no smile, no apology. That's when it hit me. The room wasn't pushing me out. She was. And by the time she took my arm later and guided me aside, the sentence she delivered didn't start anything. It just finished the work already done. After she delivered the line, she waited. Not for tears. For noise. Something to point at later. I didn't give her that. I felt my face do what it's done my whole life. Smile first. Think later. It's muscle memory. You grow up learning that scenes cost you more than silence ever does. Scenes make people pick sides. Silence makes people wonder. She watched me. Like she was checking if the effect landed. I leaned in just enough to keep it private. "Congratulations." I told her. Soft, neutral. The kind of tone you use when you're done negotiating. Her mouth tightened. Not anger. Disappointment. I hadn't played my part. Her husband appeared beside her, right on cue, hand on her back. He looked at me, then at her. "Everything good?" She nodded fast. "All good." That was the moment I understood something important. This wasn't about feelings. It was about control, and control hates unpredictability. I walked back into the room, picked up my coat. A woman from church waved, asked if I was leaving already. Early morning. I replied, "True enough. No speeches. No confrontation." I hugged a few people, smiled the same careful smile. If you're wondering how hard that was, yeah. It took effort. My jaw hurt. Quick break here. This is where people think restraint means weakness. It doesn't. It means you're choosing the timing. I stepped outside. The music faded. My phone buzzed in my purse. I didn't check it. I drove home slow, parked, sat there a minute longer than necessary. Because once you react in public, you lose all your leverage. And I wasn't ready to give that up yet. The money wasn't emotional. That's the part people miss. It sat there with a date attached to it. A closing date. A hard one. I'd promised the down payment months ago, $80,000. Not a gift card gesture. Real money. Saved slow, skipped trips, said no to things I wanted. I did it on purpose. I liked knowing it was there. When I got home, my phone buzzed again. I didn't answer. I kicked off my shoes, left them where they landed. The kitchen light stayed off. I opened the app anyway. Habit. There it was. Scheduled. Clean. Waiting for Monday morning like a polite little soldier. I stared at the screen longer than I want to admit. Closed it. Opened it again. My thumb hovered. I thought about the way she'd pulled her hand back earlier. About how easily she'd said I wasn't family anymore. Like she was trimming excess. I whispered to the room, "You don't get both." No one heard it. That helped. No speech. Just a finger and a button. Cancel transfer. The app asked for confirmation. Are you sure? It always does that? Like it knows it's about to change something bigger than a balance. I confirmed it. The screen refreshed. The money stayed where it was. Still mine. Still quiet. My phone rang right after. Her name lit up the dark. I let it ring. Then again. Then a message popped up. We need to talk. The bank called. I didn't reply. Here's the thing nobody teaches you. When someone tells you you're no longer family, they don't mean the emotional part. They mean access, holidays, influence, money. They mean what they get to keep. I sat at the table and folded my hands like I was waiting for a verdict. Except this time, I'd already made the decision. The knock came early the next morning. Loud, angry, not polite. I stood up slow. My knees complained. The house felt smaller than usual. I didn't rush to the door. Deadlines work both ways. The knocking started before 8, not the polite kind. This was fists. Wood rattling. My phone had already done its share overnight. Missed calls stacked like proof of life. I hadn't returned any. I opened the door on the third hit. She came in fast, like the house belonged to her, hair still pinned wrong from the wedding. Eyes sharp. No greeting. What did you do? Her voice cut straight through the room. I closed the door behind her. Good morning. She laughed once. Not humor. Panic trying to dress up as confidence. The bank flagged the transfer. They're saying the funds aren't there. I know. Her shoulders went stiff. You promised that money. I promised support. I answered. Those are different things. She stepped closer. Too close. We have a closing date. You don't get to pull this now. I glanced past her through the window. Her husband sat in the car, engine running, hands on the wheel, not looking at the house. He didn't come in. That told me plenty. Is he sending you in alone? I asked. Soft. Careful. She snapped her head around. Don't do that. Don't drag him into this. He's already in it. I replied. He's just staying comfortable. Quick pause here. This is where the volume usually goes up. I kept mine low on purpose. She folded her arms. You're punishing me. I'm responding. I corrected. You told me I wasn't family anymore. That was emotional. She pushed back. This is financial. I nodded. Exactly. Her face changed then. The anger thinned. Something else slipped through. Fear. Maybe. Or calculation. Hard to tell with her. You're embarrassing us, she muttered. People are asking questions. People always do. I answered. They'll get over it. She scoffed. You've always liked holding the cards. I shook my head. I liked knowing where I stood. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. I can't believe you'd do this to your own daughter, she whispered. Finally, letting the hurt show. I met her eyes. I can't believe you thought you could cut me out and still reach into my account. Outside, the car horn tapped once. A reminder, a countdown. She turned toward the door, paused. This isn't over. I know, I replied. She left without slamming the door. That was new. I locked it anyway. She came back that afternoon, not alone this time. Her husband followed her in, finally. Same suit from the wedding, wrinkled now. Tie loosened like he'd practiced looking reasonable in the mirror. He shut the door behind them and leaned against it, arms crossed, blocking exits without touching anything. Subtle. He was good at that. We need to clear this up. He opened. Calm voice. Lawyer flat. This is getting blown out of proportion. I stayed by the table. Didn't invite them to sit. Small thing. It mattered. My daughter went first. You're trying to control us. You always have. She pointed like she'd rehearsed that part too. Money, advice, opinions. You never stop. I let that hang. Counted to 3 in my head, old habit. If I controlled you, I answered. You wouldn't have felt comfortable telling me I wasn't family anymore. Her mouth opened, closed. He stepped in. That comment was emotional. Heat of the moment. I looked at him then. Really looked. Funny how the heat only ran one way. He smiled tight. We're married now. We make decisions together. That's great, I replied. Then you can deal with the consequences together too. My daughter shook her head hard. You're holding the house hostage. No, I said. I'm stepping out of something I was told I didn't belong to. She laughed. Sharp. You don't get to rewrite it like that. I'm not rewriting anything. I told her. I'm taking you at your word. Quick break, this was the moment I realized something ugly and useful. They thought I'd panic first. Beg. Explain. Instead, I was calm. That scared them. Her husband cleared his throat. Let's be practical. The closing is in 4 days. Without that $80,000. We lose the house, earnest money, credit, everything. I nodded. I understand deadlines. My daughter stepped forward again. So you're really doing this, over one sentence. I met her eye, over the meaning behind it. Silence, thick. He shifted his weight. She didn't. You've always needed leverage, she muttered. No, I corrected. I needed respect. That's when I said it, clear, slow, not raised. You don't get both. You don't cut me out of your life and keep my money. He scoffed. That's not how family works. I smiled. Not the wedding smile. This one was tired. Real. Then maybe you shouldn't have taught me otherwise. She stared at the floor. He stared at the wall. Neither argued. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere normal life kept moving. Inside, the balance tipped and stayed there. They left without another word. This time, he opened the door for her. I didn't stop them. I didn't chase closure. I sat down after, hands shaking a little. Not from fear, from the effort of holding a line I'd avoided my whole life. If money was the last tie. I already knew what that said about family. The calls started the next day. Not angry ones, careful ones. The kind that pretend concern while measuring damage. My sister left a voicemail, just checking in. Things sound tense. A cousin texted, hope everything's okay. Weddings bring stuff up. A woman from church cornered me after service and lowered her voice. I heard you pulled support. That must have hurt them. Pulled support. Like I yanked a rug. Like I hadn't been pushed off at first. I kept my answers short. We're working it out. It's private. I'm fine. Each word felt like paying a toll to move through my own town. Someone forwarded me a message they thought would help. It didn't. She's struggling. It read, you know how controlling Lauren can be. Controlling? That one traveled fast. Quick aside, yeah. I know how reputations work here. They're not built on truth. They're built on repetition. One clean story beats a messy one every time. I didn't call anyone back to correct it. I didn't defend myself. I didn't post anything. Silence was cheaper than explanation. At the grocery store, people smiled a half-second late. At the coffee place, my usual order came without the small talk. Nothing dramatic. Just colder air between words. My phone buzzed once more that night. A number I didn't recognize. You didn't have to do this. The voice pressed when I answered. Not my daughter, a friend of hers, a messenger. I didn't do anything. I replied, I stopped doing something. The line went quiet, then a click. I set the phone down and washed my hands. Slow, like I was removing something sticky. Savannah has a way of closing ranks without locking doors. You feel it in what isn't offered anymore. The days stretched out after that. No calls, no texts, not even the angry kind, just nothing. I kept my phone face up on the table like it might blink alive out of habit. It didn't. At first, it hurt in the obvious way. The ache in the chest, the reflex to reach for someone who wasn't reaching back. I'd catch myself mid-thought, wondering how her day went, then remember I wasn't supposed to know anymore. Then something quieter settled in. I noticed I wasn't bracing myself every morning. No rehearsed conversations in my head, no calculating what tone to use, what advice to soften, what opinions to swallow. The negotiation had stopped. Cold turkey. Quick note here, I didn't feel proud about that. Relief isn't a clean feeling. It comes mixed with guilt, like you're benefiting from a loss. I replayed moments from years back. Her asking if she could handle things on her own, her irritation when I offered help. I'd heard independence and answered with caution. She'd heard caution and translated control. Maybe she needed to push me out to feel grown. Maybe I was the last thing tying her to a version of herself she didn't want anymore. That understanding didn't fix anything. It didn't soften the silence, but it gave it shape. I stopped checking the phone after that, not as a statement. Just because the quiet had already made its point. The money stayed where it was. I checked once, then I stopped. Not out of discipline, out of clarity. $80,000 sitting quiet has a way of telling the truth. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It just waits. My door stayed unlocked during the day, locked at night. That felt right. Not dramatic, just guarded. If she came back, I wanted it to be because she chose me, not because a spreadsheet told her to. A neighbor asked if things were better. I shrugged. They're settled? That was the closest word I had. I ran into her husband at the store a week later. He nodded like we were co-workers who'd finished a bad project together. This didn't have to go this way, he muttered. I met his eyes. It went the way it was already headed. He didn't argue. Here's the lesson part. And yeah, I know it sounds like advice, but it's just something I learned late. Family isn't proven by what you give. It's proven by what you're allowed to keep. Your voice, your dignity, your no. I used to think love meant flexibility. Turns out it also means limits, especially when someone confuses access with entitlement. If this hits home, drop a comment, hit like or subscribe for more stories. It helps more than you think. I'm still here, same town, same routines. Savannah didn't change for me. That's fine. I changed enough for both of us. If she comes back, the door's there. The account isn't. I don't know which one matters more to her. I just know which one matters to me.